It was a bright Wednesday morning at Willow Creek Middle School, and everyone was buzzing with excitement. Today was career day, a day when parents came in to talk about their jobs. The students sat in neat rows, chatting about whose mom or dad had the coolest job. In the middle of the room sat Tyler, wearing a brand new jacket and expensive sneakers. He leaned back in his chair, grinning. "My dad's going to crush it today," he said loudly. "He owns 3 companies. Near the back sat Jacob, quiet, polite, always on time. His clothes were clean but plain, and his backpack was worn at the edges. He didn't say much, but he listened. Tyler shot a look at Jacob and smirked. "Hope your dad shows up with something better than a mop," he laughed. No one knew the truth yet. No one expected what happened when the last parent walked in. Tyler was the kind of kid who always stood out. His clothes were new, clean, and expensive. His backpack had shiny patches, and his shoes looked like they had never touched dirt. He loved telling everyone about his dad, who was a big boss at a famous company. Tyler talked about fancy cars, big houses, and vacations in places most kids only saw on TV. At school, other kids listened to him because he was loud and confident. They laughed when he joked and followed his lead, even when it came to teasing Jacob. Jacob was different. He lived in a small house in a quiet neighborhood, where the grass wasn't always perfect, and the paint on the porch was starting to peel. His clothes were usually hand-me-downs from his older cousins, but they were clean and neat. His dad was the school bus driver, the man who woke up early every morning to make sure all the kids got to school safely. Jacob never bragged about his dad. When Tyler and the others teased him about being poor or boring, Jacob didn't say a word. He just looked down, tightened his grip on his backpack, and tried to stay invisible. Despite the teasing, Jacob held on to his pride quietly, proud of his dad's hard work and care. But no one really saw that part of him. Every day at Willow Creek Middle School, Tyler made sure everyone knew he was the top kid. One afternoon during lunch, Jacob sat quietly at the edge of the cafeteria, opening his lunchbox. He had a sandwich and an apple, simple food his mom packed for him. As Jacob reached for his sandwich, his elbow accidentally bumped the table, and his lunchbox slipped to the floor. The sandwich fell out, landing on the dirty floor. Tyler saw it happen. He laughed loud enough for nearby kids to hear. "Ooh, Jacob, that's some poor people food, huh?" Tyler sneered. The other kids started giggling and whispering. Jacob's cheeks burned red, but he didn't say a word. He just bent down and picked up what he could, ignoring the stares. The teasing didn't stop there. Every morning, Jacob's dad drove the big yellow school bus. When the bus pulled up, Jacob climbed down and waved goodbye to his dad before heading inside. Tyler would smirk and shout, "Hey bus driver's boy, what's it like riding to school in a tin can every day?" Some kids laughed, others whispered. Jacob tried to ignore it, but it hurt. One day, their teacher, Miss Rivera, stood in front of the class and announced, "Career Day is coming up this Friday. Parents will visit to talk about their jobs." The room filled with excited chatter. Kids started guessing who would come and what jobs they'd share. Tyler puffed up his chest and said loudly, "My dad's gonna blow all your dads away. He owns big companies. You'll see." He looked at Jacob and smirked. "Bet your dad can't even show up." Jacob's stomach twisted. He wanted to say something, to defend his dad, but the words caught in his throat. Instead, he sat quietly, feeling the weight of everyone's eyes on him, and on his family's simple life. The week before Career Day, the classroom was full of energy and noise. Kids were busy making colorful posters and practicing what they would say about their parents' jobs. Some talked about doctors, lawyers, and business owners. Others shared stories about firefighters, teachers, or artists. Tyler worked on a huge poster with pictures of fancy cars and tall office buildings. He bragged to anyone who would listen, "My dad's company is one of the biggest in the city. He's a millionaire." Some of the kids stared at Tyler's poster with wide eyes, impressed. Jacob stayed quiet. He didn't have a poster or any pictures to share. He wasn't sure if his dad would even come. The other kids whispered about it, guessing his dad might be too busy or maybe wouldn't show up at all. Tyler didn't waste time. He started spreading rumors around the classroom. "I bet Jacob's dad cleans toilets," or something gross like that," he said loud enough for the whole class to hear. No way his family does anything important. Jacob heard every word. His heart sank, but he kept his mouth shut. He didn't want to argue or cause a scene. Instead, he stared down at his desk, wishing he could disappear. One afternoon, Miss Rivera noticed the tension in the room. She stopped the class and said gently, "Everyone, I want you to remember something very important. Every job, no matter what it is, helps make the world go round. Whether your parent works in a fancy office or drives a bus, their job matters. It's the hard work and love they put into it that counts." The room grew quiet. Some kids looked down, thinking about what she said. Tyler rolled his eyes but didn't say anything. Jacob listened carefully. Miss Rivera's words gave him a small spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this career day would be different than he expected. Maybe the truth about his dad's job would shine through, even if no one else believed it yet. The big day finally arrived. The classroom buzzed with excitement as parents started to come in one by one. The walls were covered with colorful posters, and the air smelled like fresh paper and markers. First came Mrs. Anderson, a doctor. She spoke clearly and proudly about helping sick people and saving lives. The kids listened closely, asking questions about hospitals and medicine. Tyler sat up straighter, clearly impressed. Next, Mr. Lewis, a businessman, talked about his work in a big company downtown. He showed pictures of tall glass buildings and told stories about meetings and deals. Tyler smiled widely, looking like he already claimed victory. One by one, parents shared their jobs: a firefighter, a teacher, a baker. Each story was different, but all were met with polite applause. Tyler kept looking over at Jacob's empty seat beside him. "Where's your dad?" Tyler whispered, loud enough for Jacob to hear. "Probably too busy cleaning toilets or something, huh?" He laughed. Jacob didn't answer. He just stared at the door, hoping his dad would walk in soon. Suddenly the classroom door opened. Everyone turned to look. Jacob's dad stepped inside wearing a neat uniform, the bright yellow jacket and navy blue pants of the school bus driver. At first, there was a ripple of laughter. Tyler laughed the loudest, pointing and whispering to the kids nearby. Jacob felt his face heat up. He looked down, embarrassed. But then, something unexpected happened. Miss Rivera smiled warmly and said, "We're so happy to have you here. Would you like to tell us about your job?" Jacob's dad nodded and stepped forward. He spoke in a calm, strong voice about waking up early every morning, driving the bus carefully, and making sure every student was safe and cared for. He told stories about helping kids who were scared or feeling sick on the bus. He explained how he learned every child's name and tried to make their ride a little better each day. The laughter slowly faded. The room grew quiet. Even Tyler stopped smiling. Then, Jacob's dad shared something nobody expected, that he used to be an engineer, but gave up his job to care for his sick wife and to be close to his son. The kids looked at Jacob differently now. They could see his pride, and maybe, just maybe, they were beginning to understand. Jacob's dad's words filled the room with a quiet strength. He spoke with pride, not shame, about his job driving the bus and the reasons behind it. The kids listened carefully, some nodding slowly as they realized his work was important, more important than they had thought. Tyler's laughter stopped completely. His face, once full of confidence, looked unsure now. He shifted in his seat, no longer the loudest voice in the room. Just as the class was settling, the door opened again. In walked Tyler's dad. He was dressed in a sharp suit, but looked distracted, glancing at his phone as he entered. He barely glanced at Tyler or the students. Tyler sat up straight, expecting his dad to wow the room, but his dad spoke in a cold, hurried tone. "Sorry, I'm very busy. Can't stay long." He barely smiled, and didn't say hello to Tyler. He gave a short, boring talk about making money and closing deals. There were no stories, no warmth. He looked like a man who cared more about his phone than the room full of kids. He left as quickly as he came, leaving a quiet, uncomfortable silence behind. Tyler's face fell. He looked around the room, seeing the smiles and warm looks on the kids' faces for Jacob's dad. The applause for Jacob's dad was loud and heartfelt, filling the space where Tyler's dad had just left emptier than before. Tyler's smile faded completely. For the first time, he didn't know what to say. Jacob glanced at Tyler, then at his own dad, who gave him a small proud nod. In that moment, everyone in the room understood something important. A job isn't just about money or titles, it's about love, sacrifice, and the difference a person makes in the lives around them. And sometimes, the richest people don't have the most money, they have the biggest hearts. After Tyler's dad left, the room felt different, quieter, but warmer. The students looked around, no longer caught up in who had the fanciest job, but who cared the most. Tyler sat frozen, staring at his hands on the desk. He had spent so long bragging and teasing, but now he felt empty inside. His dad's quick visit wasn't what he expected. No proud words, no cheers, just cold business talk, and a rushed goodbye. Jacob watched Tyler quietly, feeling a mix of sympathy and pride. His own dad smiled gently, and reached over to pat Jacob's shoulder. "You're a good son," he whispered softly. Miss Rivera looked at the class, and said, "Remember, the value of a job isn't measured by how much money it makes or how flashy it seems. It's about the heart, and the difference it makes in people's lives." The students nodded. Some glanced at Tyler, who finally lifted his eyes. For the first time, he seemed unsure of himself. Jacob looked around, feeling a quiet strength inside. He wasn't the richest or the loudest kid, but his family's love was real and true. The bell rang, signaling the end of career day. Kids started packing up, still talking about the stories they heard. But Tyler sat still for a moment longer, thinking about everything. No one knew what he was feeling inside, but one thing was clear. The day had changed something in all of them. As the classroom emptied, Jacob's dad waved goodbye to his son with a proud smile. The class had clapped loudest for him, and that night, Jacob knew his dad's quiet strength had won the biggest respect. Tyler walked out of the room, without a word. The laughter and teasing stopped that day. He learned a hard lesson: money and power don't measure a person's worth. And the last thing the narrator says, with gentle warmth, "A uniform doesn't show a man's value, his heart does." True pride comes from love and sacrifice, not riches or status. And sometimes, the richest person in the room is the one who cares the most.